there may be propulsion in the center as well. So as I say, some of these are 600 feet by 600 feet, TR-3B type craft, and it can just get into space totally silently, right? So I'm of the mind that they've got these platforms, you know, who knows, around the Earth doing whatever in secret. Now, late last year, there was a big story in the UFO community broke. Apparently, the Pentagon had been running a UFO study program for the last 10 years. And as a part of the disclosure, they released 2 videos of UFOs that had been filmed by fighter pilots. So they've recorded them in their cockpit. And these UFOs are going through incredible maneuvers. Maneuvers that cannot be performed by a white world craft. So this has been trumpeted by ufologists as a disclosure of information. So this was one of the videos known as the gimbal video. There was another one called the Tic Tac video where there was allegedly a fleet of these things. I'm not going to play them. You can go online and watch them. Now the person who was in charge of this UFO study program at the Pentagon for the last 10 years was Pentagon intelligence officer Luis Elizondo. And the program was called the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. Now, he was interviewed on Coast to Coast by George Knapp recently. I normally like George Knapp's interviews. He covers ufology and other subjects. But his interview with Luis Elizondo, in my opinion, was woeful. I'm going to show you some clips from that interview, and I'm going to show you what I think is really going on with Luis Elizondo.
Most of the people he worked with in the Pentagon had no idea that this program existed. That included, as we just heard, his immediate supervisor. He didn't know that he had been given this assignment. You were doing a couple of different jobs, but one of them was studying UFOs.
That's correct. Yes, I mean at the very senior levels, they were aware of what I was doing. The problem is at the middle management level, not so much.
Right. So it's a problem to him that people around him didn't know he was involved in this. To me, that's just a convenient excuse for the fact that he didn't actually work in a UFO program. We've got no way of checking from any of his colleagues what he's saying. Now, he's asked about his role as an intelligence officer at the Pentagon, and when he's talking about it, he uses past tense verbs and he uses the pronoun I regularly. I do think he was a Pentagon intelligence officer, but as soon as he starts talking about his role in this UFO study program, his language changes.
You would have this flurry of reporting coming in, and that reporting could come in various ways. Sometimes you were up for 12 or even longer hours trying to analyze information and make phone calls and call meetings and have the experts try to do the telemetry. And in other cases, you know, maybe it was you had time to sit back, drink a cup of coffee, and catch up on the news. So,
right. So the sudden change in language to me suggests that he's lying. Suggests to me that he's lying about being involved in any UFO study program. I don't believe that any such program existed, but I do believe he is an intelligence officer. Right. So that tells me that he's probably just a disinformation agent. So we then need to ask the question: why is he a disinformation agent? Why have they put him out?
Really, my mission was pretty clear-cut, and that was to determine with those of my colleagues, what is it we're seeing and how does it work? And then hopefully let, smarter people figure out who's behind the wheel and what the intentions were. We're looking at something that does, basically extreme maneuverability, well beyond the healthy G-forces of anything biological to withstand inside.
Right, he's talking bollocks there. If you're using electrogravitics, you're generating a gravitational field yourself. You do not feel any gravitational force when you're going through a change in direction, just like jumping off a building. If I jump off a building, right, and I'm weightless as I'm falling, if you suddenly move the earth from underneath me to above me, I will accelerate and go the other direction. But throughout the whole time, I won't feel any G-force, right? If you're using gravity as your propulsion system, your craft could go through any kind of movement and you wouldn't feel any G within the craft.
You're looking at hypersonic velocities. There's very few aircraft right now that we have, that we are even aware of, that can even achieve those speeds, let alone the low observability.
What he's describing here is secret technology.
Let alone potentially transmedium travel, and of course, positive lift, or, some have said in the vernacular, anti-gravity. these are, one of these exotic technologies would be a game changer.
No, it would be a game changer if people knew about it.
It would be a paradigm shift for any country. I look at it from the optic of, if it's not ours, which is we're 99.999% sure it's not, but we are as close to being 100% sure as I think as anybody could be. The two things I said initially we were trying to focus on. One was, what is it? The second is, how does it work? Well, sadly, we're not probably very much closer to figuring out what it is, but ironically enough, we are a heck of a lot closer to really understanding the physics and the principles of flight than we ever have been before. In fact, I think we finally may have cracked the code collectively on how this thing works.
So why have they put these videos out? I'm not suggesting these videos are man-made craft. No, I'm not. I don't know what they are. I've got no clue what these videos are, but I'm suggesting that he has been put forward by the Pentagon so that they have a reason to deny they have certain capabilities in their secret space vehicles. That's his function, to be able to deny secret technology, but without admitting it exists. Yeah? See how clever that is? So we're going to show a UFO video and go, how the hell is that working? I've got no clue about that. Right? That's his role, in my opinion. And since he's left the Pentagon, he's become connected to the Tom DeLonge to the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. Can I not talk about this, please? Since I got no reaction there, I will. This guy's got a number of ex-intelligence people, military people, etc., who supposedly are giving him secret information about UFOs, etc. Now, that may well be the case, right? That may well be the case. But as far as I'm aware, none of those people have got access to government or military now, right? So it's a bit like somebody knocking at your front door, leaving a bag of goodies there, and then pissing off. You get the bag of goodies and you go, look at this information, look at this, wow, look at that. And you put your hand in there and you pull out a big turd, and you go, it's not all good, wow, but still some good stuff in here. So then you open your door and you go, I need to speak to the person who put this bag there, and they've buggered off. Right? So in other words, there's no channel back to the government. There's no two-way communication. It's just, there you go, have that, and you don't know what it is. That's what this guy's project is. So you don't know what's disinformation and what's not. There's no two-way communication with government or military or intelligence. Right? So it's a perfect path to put out disinformation. So I'd just like to mention Andrew Johnson's new book, which he's about halfway through, called Finding the Secret Space Program. And we haven't really collaborated much. I've put this talk together. I looked at Andrew's first book. I haven't seen any of the content of this book yet, but we will be discussing it in upcoming Rich Planet shows. And Andrew and I are of similar mind in that we think that some secret technologies, the UFO explanation has been put on them in order to try and keep them secret. But we're not suggesting that there are no such things as UFO retrievals and that perhaps technology may have been recovered from them. This is the face on Mars, but they're also trying to keep archaeology on the Earth hidden. Very quickly, Alan Wilson wrote this book in 2007. This is a mound in South Wales, which Alan suggests represents the star Regulus, the brightest star in Leo. He gives us all of his reasons for that. So this was in 2007. He believes there's a very important artifact buried in here and has been there for thousands of years. He claims the Ark of the Covenant. Now, I know that there is something in there. I'd be surprised if it was the Ark of the Covenant, but I've spoken to the guy who did all the tests on there, so there is something in that mound. And Alan gives good reasons for suggesting that this mound is revering Regulus, the brightest star in Leo. I'll jump straight to the video. This is a standing stone which is unacknowledged by the archaeological organizations. It's about 7 feet high. That remind anyone of anything? Eye? Mouth? Mane? I'm going to show you a snout, mouth, eye, front leg, hind leg. So it's kind of a... So the guys who've been documenting this, they believe it represents a lion, sort of sphinx-like. But the incredible thing is this is 2,000 meters from that mound, and it's staring directly at the mound. It's perfectly aligned with the mound that Alan Wilson says represents Regulus of Leo the lion. Yeah? And to me, this is suggestive that this is a lion. So there we go. We see the alignment here. So the Twin Eglog mound, that's it there. And this thing is perfectly in line with it. So I'm going to be covering a lot of this in future Rich Planet shows. I didn't have time to explain that fully. But just to finish, at the beginning, I said, you know, I don't want to see any of this. I don't want to see any of this, what can we do shit, right? I want to see less of this and more of this. Remember, believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. I'm Richard Hall. Thanks for coming. Thank you.